It's Thanksgiving, the year 2001. America was still recovering from the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The wound was still very fresh. The debris was still being rummaged through. We were sad, angry, confused, and lost, desperately looking for some sort of hope to cling to. So, as Americans often do, we turned on the good old boob tube to watch some football Americano. It was halftime, and that means it was time for some musical entertainment. But how could we rock and roll at a time like this? How could we bang our heads, jump around, and wave our arms in rebellious joy when the pain from this tragedy still clouded our thoughts? Was it too soon to rock? That is what many people thought. But the members of the band Creed knew that music was what we needed. Surrounded by Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, American flags, and men literally flying overhead, Creed exploded onto the red, white, and blue stage and gave us a powerhouse performance, which included their hits, Higher and My Sacrifice. An entire choir of beautiful voices joined in for Children Don't Stop Dancing as a dove was released into the sky full of fireworks. It was kind of perfect. And you may not even like those tunes, but at that time, in that moment, those were the lyrics we needed to hear. Those were the strong, hopeful sounds and positive rocking vibrations that we needed to shake our souls. And it just fit so well with football, I guess. It was frickin' legendary. Everyone was a Creed fan during that halftime show. Even those haters, which they have a lot apparently. Scott Stapp and the boys of Creed showed us that the right music at the right time can bring us all together. But the real question is, could this band stay together? And do they have the power to reunite us again? The band Creed invites quite a few different opinions and various labels. Good ones and bad ones and ugly ones. And rocking ones! But was this band just mere echoes of whatever the grunge movement left behind? Or did they emerge as a distinct voice, shaping the late 90s and early 2000s?
During our peak, we were doing back-to-back nights at arenas and had just started putting stadiums on hold when we went our separate ways.
So, as we embark on this journey, we will unravel the layers of Creed's history and explore their complex legacy. So join me as we take you higher into Creed's history as we embark on this journey with arms wide open. So, yeah, hello my friend, we meet again. It's been a while, where should we begin? Let's begin at the beginning, and the beginning began when they were all born on their birthdays, but the band began in 1994, Tallahassee, Florida. Though most known for being a four-piece band, Creed began as a five-man group. This included rhythm guitarist Brian Brasher, who left the band soon after, with vocalist Scott Stapp, guitarist Mark Tremonti, bassist Brian Marshall, and drummer Scott Phillips. Mr. Scott Stapp wrote in his 2012 memoir that the band first performed under the name Naked Toddler, which was surprisingly not well received. So then Mr. bassist Brian Marshall mentioned that he had previously played in a band called Maddox Creed. And then Scott Stapp stood up and said, "That's it. Let's be that name, but let's drop the Maddox. Let's just be Creed." And the rest is history. Music history, that is. Rock and roll music history. Yeah!
What's up, Creed Nation? All our friends at Creed.com. We just wanted to, say hello and tell you thank you so much.
Creed would self-release the original version of their debut album, My Own Prison, in June of 1997. My Own Prison was refined and re-released by Wind Up Records in August of 1997, and went on to become one of the most successful debut albums of all time, selling 15 million copies worldwide. Creed would continue to get higher with their sophomore album Human Clay, which was released in September of 1999. It sold over 20 million copies and reigned for 2 weeks at the top of the Billboard 200. Creed would absolutely rule the charts with the single With Arms Wide Open, which earned them their lone Grammy for Best Rock Song in 2001. Unfortunately, as is the case with many rock bands, substance abuse led to division within Creed, and this wouldn't be the last time. Bassist Brian Marshall's struggles with alcohol and other substances, and refusal to attend rehab, led to the band moving on without Mr. Marshall. Brett Hestla took his place in the band as the bassist. Next, the band would release Weathered. It sat atop the Billboard 200 upon its release, featured 2 Hot 100 singles, and sold over 7 million copies. It also featured one of the worst album covers of all time. Look at this, what's going on here? This art is bad. So, we know that Creed was wildly popular in their heyday, but the question remains, were they actually any good? Well, that depends on who you ask. If one pesky Creed critic is to be believed, most people hate Creed, this critic would say. A Rolling Stone readers poll goes on to help prove this point, ranking Creed as one of the worst bands of the 90s. They've been called overly derivative, especially of Pearl Jam, although the members of Creed have repeatedly denied Pearl Jam being a heavy influence. Many were put off by the Christian themes in some of Creed's lyrics, though they've long insisted on the absence of any agenda of any sort. Creed was one of those bands that sometimes you needed to call them a Christian band, and then sometimes you were like, no, they're not. Like when you were convincing your mom to buy the album for you, you were like, this is a Christian band. So they are and they aren't, it just depends on if you need them to be, and if you truly believe. And then there was Scott Stapp, who is the best and the worst part about Creed. He's an amazing singer and de facto face of the band. He's got amazing stage presence, but didn't always come off as the most likable guy. There are many stories of Mr. Stapp being, a drunken fool. This is the guy who was caught on tape declaring that it's good to be king while he was doing stuff with groupies alongside Kid Rock in 1999. What? Oh my god. What the ladies and gentlemen, there is a Creed Kid Rock sex tape out there, and I'm just assuming that nobody should ever watch it. It's probably like the tape from The Ring. Like, if you watch it, you're gonna die in 7 days. Kid Rock and Scott Stapp will crawl out of the TV and just... But not all of the press for Creed was negative. Billboard actually ranked them as the 18th best artist of the 2000s. Number 18, that's not too bad, because there are a big number of bands out there. Their appeal could be found in Stapp's powerful vocals, which are accompanied by mighty instrumentals that always seem to pump you up and inspire you, give you energy, make you believe in yourself, and also make you think. And the lyrics have been called earnest and focused, which is good.
It's like music with substance is much more important to me than music with no meaning.
Right.
And, it is art. And, that's why we do what we do.
It was around the release of Weathered in late 2001 that Creed vocalist Scott Stapp's own struggles with alcohol and other substances drove a wedge between him and the other members of Creed. Scott was heavily reliant on drugs and alcohol as a means of coping with depression and the pressures of fame. And a spring 2002 car accident introduced painkillers into the cocktail. Among his public unhinged behavior during this time was a brief public feud with Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst. But I mean, who hasn't feuded with Fred? Scott would also punch a man at a club, and he would show up for a December 2002 concert completely intoxicated to the point where he was unable to perform. And Creed experienced their first full-on breakup in June of 2004. But drummer Scott Phillips and guitarist Mark Tremonti called up their old pal, bassist Brian Marshall, and formed a new band, Alter Bridge, with Miles Kennedy providing vocals. And Alter Bridge went on to achieve some great commercial success, selling over 5 million records. And Scott Stapp, for his part, led a pretty strong solo career. But Scott and the boys tried to make it work one more time, tried to get past their differences. So in 2009, Creed would reunite, recording the album Full Circle, and touring together through 2012. After plans for another new album fell flat, the band went their separate ways. It seemed like this would be the last we would ever hear from Creed. Scott Stapp, in particular, did not take the breakup well. He suffered a mental break in 2014, famously posting a video online wherein he stated that he was penniless and living at a Holiday Inn. He also alleged that he had family members involved with the terrorist group ISIS and made threats towards Barack Obama.
I went into a full-on psychosis and had a psychotic break.
But this bizarre, tragic rock and roll story actually has a happy ending. These unfortunate events served to draw Scott Stapp closer to his family, who helped him on his journey to sobriety. And bassist Brian Marshall began his sobriety journey in 2012. So the story of Creed is ultimately one of triumph, whether you like it or not.
When you start mixing alcohol and substances to self-medicate, that's a toxic combination. And so that can create a human being that is so far removed from who you are because of the chemicals inside of you that you can say and do some pretty nasty things.
So yeah, what the f*** happened to Creed? Well, Scott Stapp is apparently playing Frank Sinatra in a new Ronald Reagan biopic movie. And the rest of the band continues to rock as Alter Bridge. But more than 10 years after their last tour together, Creed shared with the world that they were once again reuniting in July of 2023. They let everybody know that they were slated to headline the summer of 1999 cruise in April of 2024, and the summer of 99 tour in the summer of 2024. Get your tickets now, you frickin' millennials.
Don't miss it.
Creed has received an unlikely boost in their already commendable fame when Major League Baseball's Texas Rangers attributed their success during the 2023 World Series run to, quote, having fun and playing Creed before games. So yeah, that's the answer, folks. If you ever wanted to be a champion and crush it, all you gotta do is have fun and play Creed. The band Creed would capitalize on this meme by releasing a greatest hits album titled Stadium Anthems, featuring cover art that is a clear reference to the Texas Rangers logo. So yeah, just like in their legendary Thanksgiving halftime performance, Creed always finds a way to tie themselves to sports in the best way possible.
Truly allowing the art of music and the art of athletics to intertwine and create something that's beyond poetry.
And it just rocks. So nobody should give a fuck about what the fuck happened to Creed, cause they're doing pretty okay. And just fine. Not too bad, considering. And rumor has it that members of the band have stated that they are open and excited for a new album. So yeah, I guess the real question is,
Are you ready, for what's to come?
I'm so sorry.